Welcome to the Purpose-Based Retirement with Certified Financial Planner Casey Weade. Casey is the president of Howard Bailey Financial.
Whatever risk you face during your retirement years, we've got a plan.
A published author and radio host.
It's not how much we make during the good times, it's how much we keep during those really bad times.
His advocacy for retirees and pre-retirees has made him a sought-after speaker and trusted financial leader.
And putting a real plan together.
This is the Purpose-Based Retirement.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Lee Kelso here with Casey Weade, Certified Financial Planner and the president of Howard Bailey Financial. We're kicking off the program today with a look at an article Casey recently wrote for Kiplinger's, examining the pros and the cons of the various ways you pay your financial advisors. How do you know? And which fee structure suits you best? We'll figure that out for you. We'll answer your viewer questions, including helping one viewer figure out whether they can self-insure against long-term care. And then toward the end of the program, do you know your retirement risk number? Why is that important and why should you? All of that's coming up, so you stay with us. We're going to start now with a topic that some people are sometimes uncomfortable talking about, and that is, how, Mr. Financial Advisor, am I paying you? What's your fee structure?
Yeah, I think that's interesting that that's such a challenging question to get out, right? We don't want to ask, well, so how much are you making off of me? You know, I want to know that if I'm building a house. You know, what's your commission when you build my house or my property? I want to know that when you go in and buy a car. You ask them, well, so am I getting a good deal? And you might even get out your cell phone and you can look up and find out if you're getting a really good deal. So why not do the same thing when you're meeting with your financial advisor? You wouldn't buy a home, you wouldn't buy a car, you wouldn't do a lot of these things without knowing how much it's costing you. This is your life savings. Ask that question. How am I paying you and how much is it going to cost me? And there's three basic fee structures when it comes to working with a financial planner. Not every financial planner is exactly the same. There's actually quite a wide range of ways that financial advisors can get paid, whether that's a fee-only advisor, widely touted as the best way to compensate a financial advisor. Then we've got commission-based advisors and fee-based advisors. So there's these three main structures, and there's really pros and cons of each one of those structures. Despite what a lot of advisors might have you might have them say, you know, whether that's a fee-based advisor or a fee-only advisor, we often hear them say, well, this is the only way you're going to get the most unbiased opinion. Okay, well, what are the other downsides that I might see? You know, there is no such thing as a perfect way to compensate an advisor, and that's why it's really important for you to take the time to understand these different ways to compensate an advisor so you know what you're getting into before you even walk in to the door. And if you want to read that article, you can go to howardbailey.com and click on the articles tab and you can read that latest article.
So let's start with a fee-only advisor. What are the pros?
All right, well, a fee-only advisor is an advisor that gets paid a fee only, right? Hence the name. They can't collect a commission. They can't make anything from buying or selling a product to you. They can only get paid by a fee that they collect from you. So that fee is typically done in a number of different ways. That might be a flat fee for service provided. It might be an hourly charge that you're paying that advisor. It might be something such as typically an asset management fee. So what you usually see is a fee-only advisor makes the majority of their income off of managing portfolios, assets under management. So they charge 1 to 2% for the money that you bring over and let them manage, and that is how they get paid the majority of their fee. And that really is what a fee-only advisor is. And the good thing about that is that you're getting a fiduciary. You're getting someone with the legal responsibility to put your needs ahead of their own. They're never incentivized to utilize one product over another. If that's a commission-based product, they can't collect commissions, so they're not going to be recommending one product that's maybe better than another because they make more off of selling that product to you. And that's really the biggest incentive. But you also have the incentive of that advisor managing your portfolio rather than making a commission up front. Now they have the incentive to watch that portfolio grow, because if that portfolio grows, they make more money. If it goes down in value, then they lose income. So they've got skin in the game. They make more money. You make more money. You make more money. money, they make more money.
You're sitting on the same side of the table.
Exactly.
So what's the downside for working with the fee-only planner?
The downside typically is that you've often got to implement that plan for yourself. They provide the plan to you, and it can be seen as a downside if you're not a very astute investor or you just simply don't want to do that on your own. And so there are some inherent conflicts of interest at the same time. Take, for instance, there are some certain money moves that you may need to make during your retirement years or even your working years that advisor just simply isn't incentivized to have you do, such as, say, paying off your mortgage or looking into risk management solutions such as disability, life insurance, long-term care, guaranteed income strategies. All those different things take money away from that advisor where they're collecting a fee from. You also may see those advisors be more aggressive than, or at least push you to be more aggressive than you want to be, because the more aggressive you are, the faster their fee is actually growing. And they're also very limited in their product offerings because they can't provide a lot of those risk management solutions. They're also not allowed to use a lot of the risk-based solutions that are out there in the securities world, especially in the alternative investment world.
Are there licenses that they should be holding?
The license a fee-only advisor would carry would be a Series 65 securities license, and they may or may not have a non-producing insurance license.
Okay, so let's migrate into the commission-based world, which automatically that sounds like that's a concern because now you're making money selling me things.
Sure. I mean, a commission-based has that inherent conflict of interest, right? And that's what a commission-based advisor does, is they buy and sell products and then they collect a commission for doing that. That might be an A-share mutual fund, for instance, where they make 5% up front. You put $100 in, you start with $95, and now you have to make up that loss that came in the form of a commission back to that advisor. And that may be one way it's done. At the bank, you may buy a CD. They pay you 1-2%, and they make 5 or 6% as they loan that out for cars, boats, and houses, right? You still have what you started with, and that advisor got paid, but he got paid by the financial institution. So there are some good things that happen here, though. It's not all bad. The pros of working with a commission-based advisor is that they have the widest product availability of any other type of advisor. They're going to be able to provide different investment solutions and risk management solutions that a fee-based advisor or a fee-only advisor just simply doesn't have access to, because that's what this industry was built on. It was founded on commissions. So there are a lot of products out there that's the only way you can gain access to them, especially some of the alternative investments, limited partnerships, and real estate investment trusts that more aggressive people want to get into. So those are some of the pros, but the obvious cons is they could be swayed to push you towards a higher commission-based product. They don't fall under a fiduciary standard. So this is about 90% of advisors are commission-based advisors, and they fall under a suitability standard. That means that it's just okay. So when you open up your portfolio, you may end up with all one fund company or two fund companies. Maybe it's all American funds, and you say, well, why do I have all American funds when Vanguard Funds has a lower cost option? Well, you asked for a growth fund, you got a growth fund, and that's okay. It just may not be the best. And the licenses that individual would hold would be a Series 7 or 66 securities license, and then you would have potentially an insurance license as well.
So then there's the third flavor, and that is fee-based. Now, how's that different?
Yeah, fee-based. It can be kind of confusing because we think fee-based is the same thing as fee-only, but it's not. A fee-based advisor typically starts off with a base fee. That's a base financial planning fee or a fee for the assets that you're going to allocate into the market, those securities that they're managing. So that's one of the pros, right? The at-risk assets are fee-only. They're only charging a fee on that portion, but they can still handle the risk management side of things, providing solutions. So they might collect a commission when providing an insurance product like life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability, health insurance, maybe even a guaranteed income stream utilizing some type of annuity. So that's kind of how that structure works. And the pro is that you're getting still quite a wide availability of the different products and services that are available to you. You might be missing out on some of the securities products that are out there, such as real estate investment trusts, limited partnerships, some of the higher risk investment products and A-share mutual funds, loaded mutual funds, loaded products that advisor just can't provide because they're fee only on the securities side, but now they can still fill in the gaps with that risk management solution. So there are some of the pros, and they've got skin in the game where it counts, right? When they're taking risk with your money, the more money you make, the more they make. You lose money, they lose income, so there's skin in the game and they have a fiduciary responsibility. Then you have the downside, right? Well, the downside is some of the product offerings are somewhat limited when it comes to the at-risk world, the securities world, and they can be swayed to push more commission-based options because they can collect commissions on that safe side.
And just to be clear, where does Howard Bailey Financial fall into this mix?
Howard Bailey Financial falls into that fee-based world. And that's what we've chosen to do because we feel like for the people we work with, that provides them with the widest range of solutions they need. As you step into retirement, most of the people we work with, as they walk into our office, they say, we don't want to be all at risk anymore, and our broker only provides us with at-risk options. This gives us the ability to still provide some of those at-risk solutions and have skin in the game and have a fiduciary responsibility, which means a lot in the world that we're in today, but still fill in the gaps with those risk management solutions at the same time. I say all three of these could be used depending on where you're at in your financial life. Take, for instance, you're starting out. You don't have a lot saved for retirement. Where do you go? You might want to position, you might not be able to go to a fee-only advisor or a fee-based advisor because you don't meet their account minimums, and so you go to a commission-based advisor. You may find that you're more of a do-it-yourselfer. You're looking for some stock tips and a little direction on your tax planning. You go to a fee-only advisor and you implement a portion of the plan yourself. You may find that you're at retirement or near retirement and you just want somebody to take care of the whole shebang for you and work with someone that really knows what they're doing. You work with a fee-based advisor. So those are the three different types of advisors that are out there, and you just have to find the right one that's right for you.
Well, let's make that easy, and that's because the next 10 people who call right now, it's an opportunity to sit down for a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. We talk about this a lot, but it's very important, an opportunity to get an education about your money so that you can make the very best decisions for yourself and your family moving forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team will sit down and visit with you and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. We're answering questions from viewers next.
When you have confidence in your retirement future, you can live the life you've always imagined. Because of planning, you now have time to reflect on the wonderful memories of your life. You and your spouse finally have the luxury of leisure time together. To spend fun times with your grandkids, sharing the joy of their excitement about life. Smiling at the thought of quality time with your children and of picking up the check. At last, you have time to breathe and rekindle the love of your life. Why? Because you imagined what could be. You planned for retirement. So today, you own your future.
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
Welcome back. Luke has joined us.
Hey.
It's Marshall Johnson.
Nice to see you.
Vice President at Howard Bailey Financial. He also is a certified financial planner. That's good for Peggy in Wolcottville because she's got a question. Go right ahead, Peggy.
I read online that I need 80% of my pre-retirement income in retirement, and I have about 40% of my annual income currently in income right now, and I'm good for the next 10 years in retirement. Is that really a good guideline I should be following?
Okay, Peggy, I think what you're trying to say is you've got about you need about 80% of your pre-retirement income, but currently you're saving 40% of your annual income, so you're about 10 years from retirement. So you're saving 40%, but we often hear that we need 80% of our pre-retirement income. But if we're saving 40%, do we really need 80%? Because you're not even spending that much at this point, right?
Right.
You know, so I think it's a very valid question, and this is exactly why I say all the time that these rules of thumb when it comes to financial guidelines such as this, be it the rule of 100, how much money you should have at risk, or if it's the 4% rule, or if it's saving 10% for retirement, or if you need 80% of your pre-retirement income during retirement. Every single person is an individual, and that's why you have to have an individualized plan. Saving 40% of your pre-retirement income, you may be ready for retirement within 20 years or less, depending on how you invested and how good a steward you are with those savings that you're actually setting aside. And so I totally agree. We don't need to be too worried with that 80% number. That 80% number for you is going to be a heck of a lot different than it is for the average person, just because of that annual savings. And I think someone can learn a lot from that, is that when we say 10%, go to 20. When we say 20%, go to 40. It can't hurt you. It can only make everything better in the long run.
Yeah, Peggy's doing a great job. Maybe she can teach a class out there.
Yeah, good point. How to live frugally and save well. Peggy, thanks for your call. Let's get over to Monroeville. Tom, what's your question for us today?
Hi, this is Tom, and I've always been a subscriber to the Bogle philosophy of low-cost index funds, staying diversified, and buy and hold. But the last couple of years haven't been that great, and I see that the S&P 500 is actually beating my portfolio from like 2014 to 2016. So my question is, does the modern portfolio theory still work in this new age of investing?
In this modern age of investing, right?
Yeah, modern portfolio theory, modern.
Is it still modern?
Yeah, it's not as modern.
Right?
It's not as modern. That's a great question. I would say you have to update it for where we're at today. I think a lot's changed philosophy-wise, also with the advent of behavioral finance in watching how people actually respond to the markets and how often their emotions can drive their investment strategies. So I think there's things that I like the Bogle attitude of low-cost investing. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think we need to update it because when modern portfolio was created, we didn't have some of the events that we had from 2000 to 2001, 2002, also the crash in 2008. So what we have to build into that thought process is, Casey, if we lose 50% of our portfolio, especially if it's near retirement or at the start of retirement, it takes 100% return to make back that 50%. And that's something the modern portfolio kind of leaves out of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense maybe for someone that has 30 or 40 years, because I really do think, even though maybe modern portfolio theory hasn't worked in the near term, simply because we've had, you look at the S&P 500 in a year like 2016 and you go, boy, the market's done so well. Well, other segments of the market didn't necessarily perform that well. Then 2015, 2014, all these years we had a big disconnect between small caps and large caps, and energy was really was a mess, like you might say. Also fixed income, with interest rates being as low as they are, bonds have been a very sluggish place to be over the last few years. So, taking all those things into consideration, the near term hasn't been that great, but project forward, you have 20 years, you have 40 years of savings, and something like that, a buy and hold philosophy might be perfectly fine. However, like Marshall said, you step into retirement, boy, you got to be careful, because a big hit on the front end can take it all away. So great question.
Yeah, we talk a lot about sequence of returns risk and really protecting those first 10 years of retirement. That's where we spend a lot of time with the folks that we work with. It's just protecting their first 10 so they can understand they got enough.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about protecting income with Claire. Go right ahead, Claire. What's on your mind?
My husband has no concerns over long-term care coverage during retirement. We are both 60 years old and plan to retire at 65. We have $800,000 saved for retirement and need $30,000 a year from our portfolio for income. Can we self-insure?
Well, Claire, I would say it's very dangerous to self-insure at that asset level with the amount of income that you're generating. $100,000 a year in a nursing home expense could devastate that portfolio, especially if it happened for 3, 4, 5 years. So you absolutely need to address the issue. And I would say because of your expenses in ratio with the amount of assets that you have the ability to maybe set aside $500,000 in that portfolio, take care of your income need, set some emergency money away, and still have a portion left over where you could at least fill in some of the gap for long-term care and not even give up control of those funds. There's a lot of options out there. It doesn't have to be long-term care insurance, but if you're only working with a long-term care insurance salesman, you're only going to get long-term care insurance. The more they make that premium, the more they make. Now work with a true financial planner and you're going to get the whole wide world of options that are available to you.
Thanks for your calls. We sure appreciate it. And we have a special offer we want to let you know about. For the next 10 people who call right now, we're offering a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan, an opportunity so that you can learn more about investments and your money, because we want you to make the best decision you can for yourself in the future. So for the next 10 callers willing to take some time on the calendar, we'll sit down with you and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. Here's our question of the day. What percentage of Americans have not fully recovered from that 2008 recession? Is it as much as 61% or maybe as low as 19%? We'll have the answer next.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
Here's our question of the day. What percentage of Americans didn't make it, didn't fully recover after the big 2008 recession? Casey, which one of those answers is correct?
Lee, you might be surprised that the answer is D, 61%. Wow. A study done in April 2016 by the Transamerica Retirement Center found that 61% of Americans either had not fully recovered from the 2008 financial crisis. 19% were not affected by the 2008 crisis. 20% were affected but fully recovered. The other 61% have not yet fully recovered from that 2008 financial crisis, again, as of April 2016. And why is that? Well, we often say that we need to be careful about how much risk we're taking with our life savings, especially as we step into retirement, but even before we step into retirement. And it's not just about losing those dollars, because they'll most likely come back as long as we hold on to our assets and wait for the market to return. And that's what's happened in the market over 100 years. We've seen the market pull back and recover, pull back and recover. But if we take too much risk that is outside of our comfort level, those individuals that suffered portfolio losses during the financial crisis and got out at the wrong time and then got back in at the wrong time because they panicked, because they were taking too much risk that was outside of their comfort zone, those are the individuals that did not recover. So that's why it's so important for you to understand what level of risk you're taking. What can I expect to see over the next 6 months in the way of loss or in the way of return, so that you can be best prepared for that? And does your risk number, does your risk level, if it's conservative, moderate, aggressive, does that match up to your financial advisor's level of what conservative or moderate means to them? One of the ways we analyze this in our office is utilizing a tool called Riskalyze. We use Riskalyze in this way. So we're going to show you a couple of different examples of people who had risk numbers that were either too low or too high. This is a gentleman age 66 with the goal of retirement income and preservation. Had investable assets of around $950,000. After going through our risk analysis, we find that we didn't just use conservative, moderate, aggressive. What does that really mean? We used real numbers. We used a risk number that showed that his risk number is 35. meaning that $950,000 portfolio in a 95% confidence interval, so we're 95% confident that those numbers will land in this range, would be either -6% or +10% over the next 6 months. And that was what he deemed comfortable for him. However, what we found was the current portfolio was at a risk level of 76, twice where he's currently at. That was what we would call an aggressive portfolio. So now, instead of $50,000 down in the next 6 months, he could be $150,000 down in the next 6 months. And that could result in panic, undue stress, and as a result, poor portfolio performance and potentially even the total loss of that retirement income strategy, putting this individual back to work. Had about 90%, 95% invested in equities, we could have a great average rate of return of over 10% a year if there isn't panic and we can go through the market's long-term ups and downs. And again, we're not drawing income, because if we draw income when the market's down that much, we're not going to achieve that annual rate of return. So what did we do? Well, we moved that individual back to his risk number by repositioning the portfolio. And we were able to greatly reduce the variability in returns over his lifetime of retirement. Our next individual had the opposite situation. We had an individual age 50. The goal was wealth accumulation, planning on retiring in 10 or 15 years. Investable assets today are $350,000, saving a lot and trying to get to retirement. Their current risk number was a 74. This was their current comfort zone. They were comfortable with about a 16% loss, a 25% gain, or on $350,000, a $55,000 loss, and $85,000 gain. However, we found that they were currently positioned with a 53, a risk number of 53, a current portfolio substantially more conservative than where they really wanted to be. And we found that over the next 6 months, their maximum upside could be $60,000, a substantial difference, a potential annual return of 7% a year when they should be getting a potential annual return closer to 10% on an annualized basis. And we can add much more to that equity side of the portfolio and get just a little bit more aggressive. What we were able to do by repositioning that portfolio from a risk number of 51 to a risk number of 76 is never see that portfolio plateau within a 95% confidence interval, leading to a curve and a growing portfolio throughout their entire retirement years. So this is what I encourage you to do. Ask yourself if you know your risk number. Do you know exactly where you're at in that spectrum? And not just if you're a moderate investor or a conservative investor or an aggressive investor, but what's that really mean to you in your future? If you are conservative, is that still going to allow you to meet your goals? Or if you are conservative, are you really positioned conservative? When the market goes down 10%, are you losing 10%? Or are you losing less? Maybe you're not losing at all. Maybe you're aligned the way you should be. But I think it pays to really know, so you can have the peace of mind to know that you're on the right track to reach those financial goals that you've worked so hard to put in place.
So if I'm curious about learning my risk number, what does that take? What do I have to bring you? How do we analyze that?
Yeah, we actually do that online initially. So if you want to know your risk number, you can shoot us an email. Say, I'd like to learn my risk number. We can put you through risk analysis, a very in-depth questionnaire to give you what those numbers actually are. And then we need your portfolio holdings and the different dollar amounts in those different holdings so that we can actually analyze where your portfolio lands today. And that's a great first step to get together.
And that info at howardbailey.com email will work. Info at howardbailey.com is where you get started. Or you could pick up the phone and be one of the next 10 people to give us a call right now. We're offering a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's an opportunity to learn about what's going on with your money, because we want you to make the best decisions you can going forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team will make time on the calendar, sit down, visit with you, learn about you, and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. That's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time. Take care.